What up, y'all? Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Kevin Kinkle from the Kevin Kinkle Podcast. I'm here for another encouraging word or message that I just wanted to share about. Basically about our reactions to what's going on or what's said to us and how to stay calm. Don't do anything that would throw us off on our day. Throw us off in our lives. I've noticed that as I'm walking my walk, there's certain tests that continue to come up. And if I don't pass this test, I'm not going to be growing. So since the enemy caught me slipping, I figure I could share ways so all of us don't get caught slipping. Thank you that the Lord forgives. Jesus died on the cross for our sins that we may be forgiven. But we go through things not necessarily just for us, but for others. And I know that one of the areas that I lack in that I didn't think I was lacking in was, I guess, self-control, reacting to things that are out of my control. I know there's a serenity prayer that says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference is a big game changer in my life, impacting how I move when things come up against me and I believe I have to react to it. I saw a quote that read, life is 10% of what people do to me, 90% of how I react to it. When we get called up, the Lord isn't going to ask what other people was doing. He's going to ask what we were doing. So the book that I've been in lately is the Proverbs heavy. That's my favorite book of the Bible. I love the poetic feel. I love all the jewels and all the gems. But from chapter 17 to 19, there's a whole assortment of jewels that are just being spread around about having control over your nature, your temperament. For an example, Proverbs 17 verse 25, and this is the new NIV version. It reads, even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. I remember the great philosopher Jay-Z, Sean Carter. And people are like, oh, how is he quoting Jay-Z? Remember one of his raps he said a while ago, a wise man said never argue with fools, because people from a distance can't tell who is who. And it could literally mean from a distance, if you see two people arguing, like you just see two people arguing. So it's like, yo, they're getting in a fight. You know, who's right, who's wrong, it doesn't even matter. They just see you arguing. So it's another thing if you're going through this and you're seeing two people argue and you know them and you just don't know, you just see the argument. So the whole thing about that is not getting in an argument in the first place. Like the scripture said, even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning holding their tongues. What are we doing? What is the reason that we're going back and forth, and what is going to be the end result of it? One of the things that I know about me, I am not a good arguer. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just not something that I'm good at. It's not to take me as a pushover, but I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. My birthday is on November 2nd. If somebody comes and tells me my birthday is February 3rd, if we go back and forth around 3 or 4 times, at the end of the day, I'm just gonna be like, yo, you know what? You're right. It doesn't really matter to me who's right or wrong. This isn't a big situation where I need to get my panties in a bunch. I'm sorry. But it's not a big situation where I need to get my feathers ruffled. So what kind of situations are we in that it's not really that serious? Going back and forth, why? What are we doing, and what is going to be the end result? I had a couple of situations where I said I fell short, and I didn't control my tongue. I didn't use the wisdom that's in the Proverbs telling me to chill out. And after I got out of the conversation, it was like, why did I even do that? Like, I'm worse than I am before I even said anything. I don't feel better about it. It didn't do anything to enlighten me. It didn't do anything to bring any resolution to the situation. Why did I do it? And afterwards, I just felt horrible till the next day. So it makes no sense, and there's no reason to do it. Proverbs 18 verses 2 said, fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. So if you get in an argument with some people, you could just be arguing with them and they're not listening to what you're saying. They're not rationalizing what's being said. And there could be two people looking at the same situation in different ways, but they could both be right. If I'm sitting at the table across from you and I put a number on the table and to me it looks like a 6, right? You're across from me, so it looks like a 9 to you. So we could be having an argument back and forth over what we see. We're both right. To me, it looks like a 6. To you, it looks like a 9. We have different opinions about what is in both of our faces, but we're both right. There's actually a possibility that you both could be right. You both could be making valid statements. You both could be making valuable arguments. But what is the point in trying to be right over the other person? What is that? What kind of gratification is it bringing you? What kind of enlightenment is it bringing you? What kind of growing is it doing inside of you? Why? So we got to look at those things from that point of view too. And we got to get to the point where, look, if this isn't edifying, if it's not growing me, if it's not beneficial, if it's not profitable, why am I arguing about it? And I'm not talking about sports or anything like that. I'm talking about life issues and situations. Because y'all can't tell me that y'all haven't gotten in situations with people, and then when the situation's over, it is on your heart. You're emotionally messed up. You're mentally messed up. And it's like you put yourself in that situation. Sometimes the ignore button is cool. I don't feel like talking to you right now. I know it's going to go left. I'm not talking to you. I'm not texting back and forth. I'm not going to be walking around at work and punching in my phone with my finger, super duper mad, wasting time writing half an hour big paragraph text because you got me upset. We gotta stay focused. We gotta stay focused. The tongue, this is Proverbs 18 verse 21. The tongue has the power of life and death. Meaning you could build somebody up, give life, or you can tear somebody down. And it's not a good feeling to tear somebody down. If you're not doing it to edify them, if you're not doing it to correct them in a good way, not embarrassing them, not checking them because you got to check them because ain't nobody going to be playing you like that. But if it's not edification, you're killing somebody. You're bringing death to them. Not necessarily a death like murdering them, but you're killing their spirit. You're bringing them down. Our words are to lift each other up and encourage people. That's what we're here to do. So we have to stay out of those situations so we can't get pulled in. It's easier said than done, but it is profitable. It is for our good. And one of the easy ways to stay on that accord is and one of my best friends, we always talk about this, walking in the fruits of the Spirit. And like I said before, walking in the fruits of the Spirit doesn't mean that you're a pushover, but it means that you're kind of like on a different level spiritually where some stuff isn't just going to get to you. And I'm not going to say that you're just walking around like, oh, everything's great, I love my life, but it's just some things that's not going to move you because you're grounded and you're set firm. So Galatians chapter 5 verse 22 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So you have to control yourself. I know before I talked about in the Proverbs, I believe it's 25 verse 28, it says, a man who lacks self-control is like a city without walls. And the issue with the city without walls is the walls are built up to protect the castle. If you watch Game of the Thrones or Lord of the Rings, that's what the wall is protecting. When there's a war going on, you put the woman and the children deep inside the center of the city, but the outer gates of the city is protected by a wall. So a man that has no self-control, they don't have a wall of protection up, meaning anything that could happen to them to discourage them or get them off track, it's going to happen. This could be somebody gives you a middle finger while you're driving, and instead of ignoring it, you go crazy. somebody says something slick to you, or somebody gives you the wrong change back, and you just going crazy. You don't have to act like that. When you have these fruits of the Spirit, you're conscious of this, or not even conscious. That's just how you're moving. So when you're moving in positive light, you attract positivity. And that's where you want to stay. But if you're negative about stuff all the time, if every post that you're writing on social media has a negative connotation to it, people are going to see you as negative, and they're going to treat you as such. So they're going to be on their guard. They might be ready to snap at you, and you're not even thinking about snapping on them, but that's the demeanor that you give off. On the flip side of that, people may think that they could take advantage of you because you're moving in the fruits of the Spirit. But I want to remind you of Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. God will fight my battles. I will hold my peace. So there's some times where people may take you there, but if you hold your peace, you're not showing the confidence in yourself. You're showing the confidence in God. And it's not easy. It's hard. I'm not saying this and talking to this because I got it right. I'm telling you this because I've gotten it wrong. And I'm going to continue to face this test until I can pass it. But it's important to move like that. And I notice that when I'm reading my word, when I'm iron sharpens iron, and I'm talking to my friends who encourage me to stay on the grind, it's easier for me to overlook somebody, maybe an argument or something like that, something that I know is going to go left. It's easier to overlook when you're conscious of these things. But when you're just running the race of life, which is really hard, you know what I mean? You might slip up and just forget about it. You might spaz out. And then you're going to be like, damn, why did I do that? But it's real. It's real. So the fruits of the Spirit will help us from not acting in the flesh, but acting in the Spirit, which will keep us, watch us guard our mouths. We'll be speaking life over people and not death. And then, as I always say, as a man soweth, that he shall also reap. So if you're sowing good seeds of love, encouragement, being friendly, being good neighbors, loving others like Christ loved the church, loving your neighbor like you love God, that's when all these things will go. And don't get it twisted. I'm not telling you to be a pushover. If you're walking in the street, somebody pushes you, you got every right to push them back. But at the same time, if I'm arguing with somebody and they really get on my nerves and I can't control my anger anymore, and I punch somebody and they hit their head on the ground and they die, I will have to pay the consequences for the actions that I committed. I didn't mean to kill him, but that's what happened. I swung my fist because I was enraged, and he fell and he hit his head. And this is the consequences for my actions. Now, I might be a little embarrassed because people are like, why'd you let that guy push you? Well, I just don't feel like beating him up. I know I could beat the guy up. I know if I punch him, he can get hurt. So it's really not that serious for me. Me looking like I'm the big, strong guy in front of everybody else, it's not really that serious. But I'm not, don't go doing nothing to me because you think I'm a pushover or anything like that. But I'm just saying, giving you an example. Like we see a lot in these streets. I don't know, the kids that's growing up, they might have not learned conflict resolution. We had a 6-year-old in Texas who figured that his teacher was getting on his nerves. So in order to him to rectify that situation, he's going to bring a gun to school and shoot her. We had all those other situations that I was talking about because people don't know conflict resolution. There was 3 different situations where men were going crazy. Maybe they weren't taught conflict resolution. One guy was getting divorced. He slammed the dump truck into this lady's house. Another guy got into a situation at the bar, aired out the whole family because he was trying to disrespect the female, and the other gentleman in her family came to her defense, and he shot all of them. So there's no conflict resolution. We need to teach this to ourselves and to our kids to prevent them from getting in trouble, prevent them from hurting people. And when you get yourself in these situations, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the whole family. So that was just a little bit of word that I wanted to share with y'all about staying encouraged, staying on a grind, and watching our mouths, covering ourselves, covering the people that are around us, putting good things out in the atmosphere so we receive those good things back, not getting into any altercations nothing productive is coming out of it. And we got to stay focused on that because the enemy ain't playing out here. The enemy knows what our likes and what our strengths and what our weaknesses is, and they're going to try to get us off of our grind. So stay focused, speak love. When you continue to speak love into people, it's a force of habit. Wave at people, say nice things to people. I know it's hard in the morning when you're first at work, but just know the energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to get back. One of the things that I still be telling people now, Watch what you post on social media as far as negativity, because people are now monitoring social media for kids to get